Hello and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to another episode of Asanas Explained. In this series we're breaking down different yoga postures like downward facing dog, cobra, upward facing dog, and today triangle pose, to help us to understand these postures a little bit better. Hopefully I'll be able to give you some tips and little pointers so that you can make your yoga asana practice, your posture practice, more efficient, more safe and more effective. And more enjoyable, obviously. That's the main thing, right? Triangle pose or Trikonasana is a posture that will come up in pretty much any style of yoga. Anything other than the relaxing ones, restorative and yin. Any other style you practice, hatha, vinyasa, ashtanga, you're probably going to come across triangle pose every now and again. It's a really good one for both strength and flexibility. It's very strong on the legs, the glutes, the core, the lower back. Little bit of strength through the upper body as well, and very good for stretching out the legs, particularly inner thighs, hamstrings, sides of the torso, shoulders and chest get a good stretch as well here. So it's a real good all-rounder. It's a beginner-friendly posture, and yet there are a lot of ways that you can not necessarily do it wrong, but there's lots of ways that you can be a little bit lazy with triangle pose. So I wanted to make this video to show you how to do it efficiently so that you're using the muscles effectively, holding yourself strongly in the pose rather than just sort of sinking into it. People who come to classes who are really flexible can quite easily just sort of sink into their flexibility with triangle pose. So if that's you, if that sounds like something you might be a little guilty of, then what I'd encourage you to watch for in this video is how to really engage the muscles. And I give a little tip in just a minute on how to really switch on those muscles in the legs, the core, the lower back, so that you can hold yourself strongly in triangle rather than just sinking into your flexibility. And in the long term, that's going to serve you far better. Okay, so let's get into triangle pose. So from a standing position, if you were standing at the top of the mat, you'd be stepping the foot back a similar distance to something like a lunge or warrior one, not quite as far back as if you were going to go into warrior two or say a wide forward fold, so slightly shorter than that. And we want the hips aiming out to the side. So we turn the back foot to 90 degrees. So front foot faces forwards, back foot turns out to 90 degrees. And we're aiming for the heel of the front foot to be lined up with either the heel of the back foot or the instep of the back foot. So this is where mats like this Yogi Bear one become very helpful because it's got a line down the center. So I can line up the inside of my front heel and the instep of my back foot. Now I want the legs straight in triangle pose. If you have knees that tend to lock out like mine, so if you have a little bit of hypermobility there, then it's always a good idea to take a small micro bend in anything where the legs are supposed to be straight. So rather than this, locking out, little micro bend. Then we take the arms out wide, palms facing either down or sometimes forwards, your choice. And then we reach away towards the front foot. You can notice my legs are not bending here. They're staying straight with that little micro bend in the knee. I'm reaching away. I'm also not tipping forwards here, just straight out to the side. And then I tilt and bring my hand down to the leg. This arm is reaching up towards the sky. And I'm trying to keep my chest open. So I'm not letting everything dip down like this. I'm keeping the chest open. I'm still facing this long edge of the mat and reaching up. Now the legs are still active here, so I'm not just collapsing down. And this is something we'll talk about in a second. I see this quite a lot. Legs are still really active and holding me in position. I like to teach this first with just the hand resting on the leg, so you've got a little bit of support. It's not then quite as challenging or demanding on the core and lower back. But once you get strong enough to hold here, you can bring that hand in front to just float like this. And then we lift back out. So I'll show you on the other side. We would turn the right toes out, left toes in. Again, my heel is lined up with either the instep or the heel of my back foot. Hips are turned to the long edge of the mat. Opening out, I'm going to take a little micro bend in my knee. Reach. You can see then what nearly happened. As I went to reach, my knee wanted to bend. This is what I see a lot in class. So try and keep those legs fairly straight, maybe just a little micro bend in that knee to protect it. And as we reach away, we then get this big stretch down the inside of the leg here. So the hips kind of tilt back. So again, that action is coming from here, legs straight, reaching away, tilting through the hips, and then bringing the hand down to the leg, other arm lifts up. So let's go into now a few things to try and avoid here. So I've shown you a couple of them kind of by accident already, but what I tend to see a lot, especially in quite bendy people, is this. They want to get right down into the deepest version of this. Now that puts a big old stretch on the inside of that leg, and it also means that my legs are not having to do very much here. My legs are not really working very hard at all. And if you could see this from the side, I'll try and show you from the side, you can see that this is happening. My bum's dropping back, whereas what we actually want is for the body to be in a fairly straight line. I've heard some teachers talking about imagining you're between two panes of glass, so that rather than letting the bum drift back, everything is staying in this one plane. So, if you are someone who likes to do this big, dramatic triangle pose, I'd encourage you next time that you try it to keep those legs really strong and see if you can keep your bum from drifting back. So squeeze the glutes, imagine you're trying to hold your glutes and your hips underneath your torso as you reach and come down. And just keep it as a short one, don't go quite so deep, stay a bit more shallow and find the muscle engagement through the legs. Another thing I see quite a lot is people coming down into it, holding like this. So they're looking to the ground, they're trying to keep the chest down, or not trying to, but they are keeping the chest down without meaning to. And you can see then the shoulder is in not very nice a position. Sometimes the arm will then turn the opposite way. So what we want to focus on here is lifting up through the chest, trying to stay facing towards this long edge of the mat and reaching up with an open palm. So rather than this down here, staying that little bit higher, turning the chest and lifting up. And one last thing, just to make sure that you know how to engage those supporting muscles in the glutes and in the legs to hold you in Trikonasana. Something I like to practice with people or teach in my classes is coming into it with the toes and kneecaps lifted. So from this position where we're about to go into triangle, we're going to just lift up the big toe and the rest of the toes if you can. So we're activating through the feet, that's going to help to switch on those lower leg muscles, the calves. Then we're going to try lifting up the kneecaps, which is going to switch on the quads. As you do that, you may also feel the glutes engage. If not, you could actively squeeze the glutes. I know it sounds a bit weird, but actually poking poking the buttocks sometimes helps you to feel where those muscles are so you can switch them on. So everything lower body is really strong here. Toes lifted, kneecaps lifted, glutes engaged. And then coming into it, so reaching away, keeping that engagement through the lower body and coming down real slow. So in slow motion. Now my lower back and my core are having to work hard as well here, but my legs are really solid. You can see my toes are still lifted, I could move my arms around all over the place, but my lower body is staying really fixed. So this is a drill that I like to teach people, and then as you come back out, you can then let everything relax again. I hope that's been helpful. If you have any other questions, leave them in the comments below and let me know what other poses you'd like me to break down in this series. I've had a few requests already, so I've got quite a long list, but let me know what you want to see and I'll bump it up to the top of the list. If you found this video helpful, please do like, subscribe, make sure you've got the little notification bell clicked so that you get notified whenever there's a new video. Thank you for watching, practice safely, good luck with your triangle, and I'll see you in another video soon.